Stefanos Tsitsipas hasn't made it past the quarterfinals of a hardcourt event since 2023, until last week when he switched rackets and suddenly won the Dubai ATP 500. So what the heck racket is he even using, and how is he playing so well with it? Now on the surface it really looks like Steph is using some sort of Babolat Pure Aero 98, but on closer inspection we can see that 16x20 string pattern and these really weird funky shaped grommets towards the throat of the racket, which are indeed only found on the Babolat Aero series, so this is 100% a Babolat Pure Aero 98. It's definitely not the new Diadem Axis or like a Carve 100 if that's what you thought was going on. He does appear to be using some sort of black string instead of his normal Luxilon 4G. I don't know if this is RPM Blast, Luxilon Savage, or Alu Black, but let me know in the comments if you've got some insider info on this. Ultimately, going from a Blade 98 to an Aero 98 is a pretty massive change. Over the last year, maybe a bit more, we've seen Steph really experiment with different rackets, various pro stocks, different iterations on the blade with different string patterns. We've seen him experiment with like Wilson Steams and some really wacky customs, but this is the first time, at least in public, that we've seen Steph try something from another brand. Well, Steph's old blade and his new Aero 98 are both 98s. That's pretty much where these similarities end. In every single way, Steph's old blade is just that. It's more of an old school frame. It's got the lower flex, it's got this thin, flat beam and a pretty tight string pattern. The Aero 98, on the other hand, it's new school. We've got a stiffer flex, a more open string pattern, and a much thicker beam designed to give that user more power, stability, and big time access to spin. And I think you can see all of those things reflected in Steph's game last week. Tsitsipas is taking balls early, on the rise, kind of the same way Peak Fed did, off both his forehand and his backhand. He's clearly trusting this new improved stability on his Aero 98, filled with confidence that the racket's not going to twist on an off-center shot and cause that demon of a backhand to start shanking again. He's got tremendous power on his forehand. He's dictating the court off that side with so much power, so much spin, and you can really see that the court penetration on Stefanos' forehand is back with a vengeance. But this newly found swagger on court is such an insane contrast to the Stefanos we saw lose to an injured man the week prior. Makes me wonder how mental this racket switch has actually become for him. In fact, on first glance, I'd say Stefanos is honeymooning. So what really is the honeymoon phase when it comes to trying out a new racket? Well, we're people and humans adapt. In fact, I would say we're quite good at adapting, especially our brains. So when you pick up a new racket, it's not gonna play the same as your old racket, and that sounds so obvious, but the consequence of that is your game adapts to play well with that new racket. It feels fresh and you don't really fall back into some of these old habits you might have developed with, say, your old blade. And a lot of this is really more about the mind than the actual racket, because your mind is cutting out all these bad habits that you used to do with your old racket and only really doing the things that you're supposed to do with the new racket. And I think that's really what's happening here with Tsitsipas. He's so aggressive, he's so confident, he's absolutely whacking the crap out of every single ball. His backhand, did you see 9.8 average backhand quality, shot quality, as measured by the ATP, whatever that index, however that index is actually derived? But that's insane. Tsitsipas, we think of Tsitsipas as his backhand is this major liability, and then all of the sudden it becomes like the best backhand on tour for a set? What is going on? I think that is so mental, but I also think that it's okay that it's mental. Tennis is a mental game. If we can find little hacks, little sneaky fixes for that mental side, why not just run with it and let yourself get tricked? Sure, you could play actually better with your old blade maybe if you just buckled down, started playing more aggressive, and doing all the things you want to do to be effective on court. Or you can switch rackets, feel like you have this huge advantage, play confidently, and play better. So why not just do the easy thing that gets you immediate results? Well, I guess that's because sometimes the results don't actually last. What can happen is after that adjustment period goes by, the honeymoon feeling, it fades, couple weeks pass, you start doing those old bad habits again. Now, I actually don't think this is going to happen to Stefanos. In fact, I'm really excited for the future of tennis with Stefanos playing at his best. Because Steph won a tournament immediately with his new racket, I think that does so much to bolster your confidence that you're actually going to be able to carry that honeymoon period through quite far. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Steph back in action. I think the variation that he possesses in his game is amazing for tennis as a whole. You know, we've got this kind of centered hardcourt domination situation going on right now. And it's not that it's become boring quite yet. It's not like it's peak Djokovic just demolishing everyone in his field. It's more like we haven't seen someone find an answer for hardcourt center quite yet, and I think Stefanos with his one-hander firing with that all-court game going with, I think, probably better court sense than Carlitos, Stefanos could be up there challenging the top guys, maybe replacing Zverev as kind of a top 3 player in the world. Definitely early to say that this Aero's for sure gonna switch Stefanos' game, but I think the combination of a racket switch plus the instant confidence boost, that kind of instant gratification of you will, is gonna do wonders for his overall confidence, and that's something we could very well see ride through to the end of the year, barring some weird accident. Plus, I think the clay season will really light up with Stefanos playing well. It'll be kind of weird seeing all of these top clay court players using Aeros, but I guess the Aeros are just the best clay racket around. If you know specs, what spec is Stefanos using in his Aero, I'd love to hear in the comments below. I'm kind of guessing that it's pretty close to what he's using with his old blade, maybe a little bit lighter because he does seem to really be accelerating that racket head, although I do think that's something that he could always do with his blade before. We just didn't always quite see that confidence, especially not of recently. So really hoping Stefanos carries this form through. I think players playing well is good for tennis, especially players with the kind of variation and excitement that Stefanos can bring. We have to remember, like, Steph is a pretty clutch player. He finds his first serve in moments that matters when he's playing well, and I think that will be awesome. Thanks so much for watching.